in a series of political candidate forums in advance of the August 20th primary election. This forum is a cooperative production of the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee, the Tallahassee Democrat, and WFSU Public Media. Today's candidates are running for Leon County Superintendent of Schools. I'm Lynn Hatter of WFSU Public Media, and I'm joined today by William Hatfield of the Tallahassee Democrat and Danielle Irwin of the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee. We'll be questioning the candidates on various topics. Let's meet those candidates.
The candidates for Leon County Superintendent of Schools in the Democratic primary, sitting left to right, are Rocky Hanna, who is the incumbent in this race, and Star Swain. For those watching us on social media, please hit the share button and help all of your friends see today's discussion as well. For those at home, here's how the forums are going to work. We will rotate which candidate gets to answer first. We have a lot of questions, so we're going to be blazing through things. You'll be keeping your answers to about 45 seconds, sometimes shorter for follow-up. We will keep time, and we have a very technical way of doing that. You will hear this when you're out of time. You don't have to come to a dead stop, but please finish your sentence, and we are going to move on.
If you're watching on Facebook and you have a question for the candidates, go ahead and type them into the comments and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Time is very limited, so you can improve your chances of your question being heard. If you keep it brief and polite, make it a question applicable to all candidates. Are there any questions?
Away we go. What is the #1 issue students are facing in Leon County schools this election? 45 seconds. Superintendent Hanna, start us off.
First, I'd like to thank WFSU and the Democrat for having us in League of Women Voters. It's a lot different than the bandstand we used to have years ago. I turned 60 this Saturday. It's hard for me to believe. But as a lifelong resident of Tallahassee and Leon County and a product of our public schools, it's truly an honor to serve as superintendent. To answer your question, Mr. Hatfield, I think academic regression coming out of the pandemic, along with mental health issues and kids have been isolated for a long period of time, are the things that we've been facing. We have academic interventionists that we've inserted into our schools, especially our elementary schools, to help deal with that academic regression that took place as a result of the pandemic. We've made huge strides as a result of the fast testing this spring. We've seen amazing results. Our kids are getting back on track.
Mrs. Swain, same question.
Yes, again, thank you also for allowing us this opportunity. So I believe that, as Mr. Hanna mentioned, one of the #1 issues is the COVID lag that we have and the gap in academic learning, as well as being able to mitigate any types of disparities as it relates to socioeconomic status, and also just making sure that our students are able to catch up. So because of the pandemic, there was a lot of time lost, a lot of academic instruction that was lost, and so right now we are fighting, trying to bring our students back to where they need to be academically.
Thank you. Mrs. Swain, what makes you the best candidate for this seat over your opponent?
What makes me the best
30
candidate?
seconds. Sorry.
Thank you. What makes me the best candidate? I have 21 years of experience in education. I have also gained 9 years of experience in leadership, but also I am an educator with passion, and I believe in putting children first and putting teaching and learning first. It is the first priority, and because of that, it drives me, it fuels every decision that is made for me as an educational leader and also an organizational leader. I have the skills as an organizational leader.
Thank you. Superintendent Hanna, same question, 30 seconds.
Been with our school district for 36 years. I've served in many capacities. No matter what role I've played, the center of every decision I've made is what's best for our students. I have a lot of experience. I've served in the United States Army. I have a degree in business, so I understand the finances of our operation, which is $600 million budget, which is really important. But at the end of the day, it's about our teachers and us hiring high-quality teachers. And the greatest impact I can have is hiring high-quality principals and school leaders. We've done amazing things. We're going to continue to do the work.
Superintendent Hanna, it is report card time, and you get to grade yourself. What letter grade would you give your tenure as superintendent, and why? Anything you need to improve? 45 seconds.
There's always room for improvement. I would say a B+, to be quite honest. That's how the state of Florida rates Leon County schools right now. It's our goal to get to an A. We think we're going to pull that off this year, given the results of our students' testing. There is always room for me to grow as a leader. I am proud, however, of what we've accomplished. We've pushed more resources down into our classroom. We've funded arts in our schools. We've given salary increases to our employees. We've reduced capital debt by $170 million, and we have Leon County Schools on track to be 100% debt-free in 2028, and I'm extremely proud of that.
Thank you. Mrs. Swain, what grade would you assign to the superintendent? What's he doing well? What can he improve?
I would assign probably a C, not because, he's a bad leader, but because there are many things that need to be improved in our school district. I believe that there is a gap between the district and the schools, and I believe that there needs to be a bridge between that gap and understanding what's happening in the infrastructure of those schools. I think we can do a better job in that area.
Thank you.
All right. This next section is on the topic of charter schools. Florida's Constitution mandates a system of free public schools. In your view, how have universal vouchers and charter schools impacted the Leon County School District, and how do you compete going forward? 45-second responses, please, beginning with Ms. Swain.
So I believe that those vouchers undoubtedly have impacted Leon County School District because of the funding that is going towards those students and those parents who are choosing for those students to go to charter schools or private schools. So there is an impact there. There's an impact in enrollment. I believe that we are able to respond to that by increasing the quality of education that we're providing for our students in every school, that we're giving our families, our parents a better choice and letting them know that this is where we want their kids to be, and hopefully that they will see that there's academic excellence in the school district.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hanna.
Yeah, I've been very outspoken about what I consider to be reckless charter school expansion. Even worse is vouchers going to private schools. For the first time in history, we now see public tax dollars being diverted and siphoned off to fund public schools. Which is the reason, I'm sure we'll get into it, that we've entered a marketing campaign, is to go out and tell our story, and it's a beautiful story to tell. But it's incumbent upon us to tell the community and to give parents a compelling reason to send their child to Leon County schools and not to take advantage of the tax vouchers. But again, it's a completely different playing field. I could go on and on about how wrong this is, and I will continue to oppose vouchers going to support private institutions.
Carrying on with that question, and I think you may have already answered it, but I do want you to expound, because historically the Leon County School District has challenged the creation of new charter schools, though they've been overruled several times by the state on this issue. So should the school board continue that posture? Mr. Hanna.
It's money. It's math. There's only so much money that we have in Leon County, and when you start opening mom and pop charter schools all over the community, you water down all the resources. And so it's, to me, and that's why we opposed Red Hills. They were open for 1 month and they closed. We see under-enrolled schools at Tallahassee Classical, at Renaissance Academy. Those are not serving the district well at all. So we need to consolidate where it's like a Star Metro bus driving around town with 8 people on it. Financially, that's not making the city any money. It's the same with our schools. So I think we have to be able to tell our story, promote our product, and give parents a compelling reason to send their child to Leon County schools.
Thank you. Ms. Swain.
I believe that in order to challenge those charter schools and from popping up in our district, I think the approach needs to be different. I think our approach needs to be, what are we doing inside of the schools to bring those families to our school district and want their kids to be in our public schools? And I think until we do that, until we acknowledge what's happening that parents are not happy with, until we do that, then we will continue to see parents desiring for something different. So we have to make the changes that are necessary.
All right. Declining enrollment, as we've been discussing, is a reality in many public school systems, including here in Leon, and that recently prompted school board member Alva Smith to call for a dialogue on the possibility of closing schools. That's been happening in districts as near as Jacksonville. Superintendent Hanna, you've said that we don't need to have that discussion now, so when do we need to have it? 30-second response, please.
No, we don't. We're not entertaining any ideas right now of closing down schools. We are focused on telling our story. We've had focus groups with parents of students both in our schools and not in our schools. What can we do better? How can we market our schools to where kids want to come back and not take advantage of these tax vouchers? But we're facing the perfect storm. You have these horrible things that are being said by the legislature and our executive officer of the state of Florida about public schools. And oh, by the way, if you don't want to go to the government school, we're going to give you a voucher to go to a private school.
And what would trigger the need for that discussion?
I think once we see schools under 50%
Okay.
capacity, that we would then have some of those discussions, but
Okay.
we're not there yet.
Okay. Ms. Swain.
So can you repeat the question?
Sure. Declining enrollment is a reality in many public school systems, including here in Leon, which recently prompted school board member Alvis Smith to call for a dialogue on the possibility of school closures, and that's been happening in districts as near as Jacksonville. Superintendent has said that we don't need to have that discussion now, so when do we need to have it?
I would have to agree with the superintendent on this particular issue because I don't feel like schools need to be closed as of yet. I don't feel like Leon County School District is at that point or at that juncture. But I do believe, however, as I've said before, that we have to strengthen what's happening inside of schools, meaning curriculum and instruction needs to be strengthened, culture and climate needs to be addressed in all schools, and we need to make sure that there's an equitable playing field for every school in our school district.
All right, thank you. Our freshman Republican Senator Corey Simon has quickly become a force in state education policy and a strong backer of vouchers. Mr. Superintendent, can you tell us about your relationship with Senator Simon? Have you worked together to get anything done? And Ms. Swain, have you met Senator Simon? And if not, what would be your approach to working with him? 30-second responses, please, beginning with Superintendent.
So, yes, I know Senator Simon fairly well. We just disagree philosophically on public education. It was his opinion that the curtain was pulled back and teachers were exposed during COVID when they were trying their best to keep our schools open and keep our children safe. And I've questioned him, how are you going to evaluate a teacher on trying to teach a hybrid model where 50% of the kids are in class and 50% are at home? It was simply almost impossible. And to me, that was completely unfair. We just disagree philosophically. I'm for school choice, but not public tax dollars going to support private institutions.
All right. Ms. Swain.
I have had an opportunity just to meet Corey Simon, but nothing long, just a meeting face to face. But I will say the way that I would try to work with him is not just supporting vouchers and giving more vouchers, but tell us what can you do to help us improve our schools? How can you help us improve the communities where our children go to school at in order to give our students, again, a quality education, give our parents a better choice with our public schools. So I think that that's how we need to work together.
And Superintendent Hanna, was there a specific issue you worked with Senator Simon on? Just one sentence.
So yes, we were trying to get a playground approved, funded at Gretchen Everhart School, which serves not only Leon County but surrounding counties.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to challenges in the classroom. More than 1/3 of Leon County school students missed 10% or more of their classroom time in the 2023 academic year. How can Leon County schools reduce chronic absenteeism? In 45 seconds, Star Swain.
Yes, I believe that we can reduce chronic absenteeism by, number one, becoming a little bit more involved in what's happening in our actual communities, in our homes where the schools are. It can't just be us working and trying to reach these families at the school location, but we also need to be in touch with what's happening with these families. Also, I would say that, making sure that we are really adamant about making sure that principals and school leaders are providing accountability to parents, that we're doing home visits if needed for students that we haven't seen in a while. And that we're really putting forth the effort in making sure that students are present at school every day.
Thank you. Rocky Hanna.
We've seen this issue get worse coming out of COVID. I don't know if more parents are working from home and kids are staying home, but we are also addressing this issue as the rest of the country is as well. We have committed social workers to all of our middle schools and high schools to reach out to parents and families whose students are missing large numbers of days of school to try to find out why that is happening. We are talking to the legislature about putting some more teeth into mandating that kids are in school. We tried to tie grades to attendance in the past. That was determined to be illegal, against the law. We couldn't tie grades. So we need some teeth, a lot like universities have, to make sure that kids are in school when they're healthy and not in school when they're not healthy. But all in all, I think working with the legislature to try to put some teeth into attendance issue around the state of Florida.
Thank you. A 2017 study showed Leon County schools were among Florida's most segregated. Have we made any progress on that? Can we make any progress on that? 45 seconds, Rocky Hanna.
So one of the things that I embraced the most during my tenure as principal of Leon High School, my alma mater, was the diversity we had at that school. The northern boundary was Ox Bottom Road and the southern boundary was Orange Avenue. If you think about all the neighborhoods that are encompassed, it was just a beautiful thing to see. And that's what I envision for all of our schools. Yes, unfortunately, there has been more segregation of our schools over the last several years. I think it's going to be exacerbated with vouchers for kids to go to private schools. But we are going to do everything we possibly can to market our schools and tell individual stories to give people reasons to come back. You know, a lot of people have said the issue of white flight. We're trying to keep our schools as diversified as we possibly can because we want our schools to look like our community.
Thank you. Star Swain?
I believe we can absolutely make progress on what's happening in terms of segregation in our schools. I believe that what needs to take place first is looking at where are the disparities between the resources that are being allocated to specific schools versus others. How are we addressing and supporting these schools, and how are we making sure that those schools that are in lower socioeconomic areas are receiving what they need to make them as good or even better as those that are not in those types of areas. When we have that disparity in terms of economic disparity, then we are going to continue to see that happening when we have disparity in what's being provided to those schools.
Thank you. Rocky, you mentioned...
Can I respond? Am I allowed to respond to that?
We're going to keep going. You got a lot.
Yeah, Rocky Hanna, you did actually open the door, though, for a discussion on redistricting. When you mentioned the boundaries of your alma mater, when was the last time the district did school rezoning? It might anger a lot of people as parents buy homes just to land the school of their choice, but some schools are maxed out while others aren't. Is it time to talk about this? We're going to begin with you, Star Swain.
I do believe it is time to talk about rezoning, but as we talk about that, we have to make sure, again, that we are maintaining an equitable playing field for all students and all families and all communities. So there's going to be a rezoning. I think that, and it goes along with, you know, the question that just came before, is making sure that we are diversifying these schools, that we're making sure we're diversifying the zones so that we're not just segregating one community or demographic of students versus others.
Thank you. Rocky
So
Hanna.
this is an issue we constantly monitor enrollment by school, and we also look at growth and development in those areas. Other than once we built some new schools like Roberts and Montford, there was some rezoning to be done. We looked at our high school numbers. Our Leon, Childs, and Lincoln are about at capacity. One thing I'm really proud of, when I started in this position, Rickards High School's enrollment was under 1,100. We made a $60 million investment on the south side in Rickards High School and basically rebuilt it from the inside out. Now their enrollment is just short of 1,700 students. So 600 students have come back to Rickards High School. Brick and mortar do not make a school, people make a school, but at the end of the day, our kids need to have a sense of pride about where they go. And for too long, schools on the south side have been neglected, and we've made a difference over the last 8 years.
Thank you.
All right. You hit this one?
Oh,
is there one
excuse
more?
me. There is, yeah.
Did you get that?
Okay, we're going to begin with you, Rocky Hanna. The latest data on the district's graduation rate has been reported from 2023. It shows economically disadvantaged students and African American students with the lowest rate of graduation. How can you help correct that disparity in 45 seconds?
Going into COVID, our graduation rate was 94% or above. We're in the top 5 of the state. Our African American graduation rate at Rickards High School was 92%. The COVID-19 crisis, the pandemic, It took its toll on us. It really did. Across the state of Florida, when the pandemic was at its height, 55% of kids were in school. In Leon County, only 45% of our kids were in school for a year and a half, or some up to 2 years. And it's going to take us a little time to get that back. We're looking at graduation numbers this year. We're going to be back close to 90%. We'll get those numbers back, but that's something we are constantly monitoring, not only the total graduation rate, but also disaggregating the data to look at those subgroups as well to make sure they're not being left behind.
Thank you. Star Swain.
I believe that the graduation rate does not start in high school. I believe that we need to start at middle schools and also the elementary schools. And especially when we're talking about the African American subgroup and looking at why there is that disparity, I think that we need to make sure that we are using data appropriately in terms of demographics, and again, going back to our communities, understanding our communities and the need for that particular subgroup of students. I think if we understand the need, then we're able to address the need. If we emphasize, which I know the school district has started doing more of, emphasizing those CTEs and making sure that students have that vocational track that they're able to get on and graduate successfully, I think that we can increase that graduation rate.
And CTEs for the audience?
I'm sorry. Career and technical education.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to district management and teachers. Contract negotiations have begun again with Leon County school teachers. Past bargaining sessions have gotten contentious. Do you see a path to avoid that this time? Starting with you, Mrs. Swain, 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. Contract negotiations have begun again with Leon County schools teachers. Past bargaining sessions have gotten contentious. Do you see a path to avoid that this time? 30 seconds.
Yes, absolutely. There's an easy path to avoid contentious negotiations. It's number one, listening to what is being said from those teachers who are asking for what they need. It's more than just what they want. This is what they need for their families. This is what they need, bare minimum, just to take care of themselves. And I think if we do more listening than we do talking, then the contention will begin to decrease.
Superintendent Hanna, same question.
So I am proud of what we've accomplished over the last 8 years in the issue of teacher compensation. Beginning teacher salaries have increased by over 30%, from $36,500 to $47,500. Veteran teachers now today are making $1,000 more per month than they were when I took office. We're just trying to keep up with inflation, but I've promised our union every dollar that we can commit to teacher salaries, and not only teacher, non-instructional salaries as well. We're going to do that without putting our district in financial harm.
15 seconds. You said that, I think you alluded to academic interventionists earlier. In the last session, teachers got a raise, but you indicated that you needed to lay off administrators, and a lot of that came out of academic interventionists. Was that the right sacrifice?
We had 150 positions that have been paid out of federal dollars for the last 5 years, or the last 4 years, excuse me. Those dollars run out. Of those 150 positions, we're able to keep 80. So we're able to keep a lot of those academic interventionists, counselors, and social workers, where before we never had them in our staffing plans.
Mrs. Swain, same question, just 15 seconds. Was academic interventionists the right place to sacrifice for salary increases last time?
I absolutely believe that it was not the correct decision to make, especially knowing that we're trying to fight against the COVID gap. And I believe that if we had made a plan prior to knowing that those dollars were going to run out, then we would not have been in that situation.
Okay. Many teachers are concerned about whether what they say in the classroom can get them fired, fined, sanctioned. What's your advice to teachers? 30 seconds.
Is that me?
Which one?
Mrs. Swain.
My advice to teachers is to remain objective and to teach the content. And I believe that personal views should remain out of the classroom. We're not there to influence our students or families one way or the other. We're there to teach and make sure that our students are learning.
Thank you. Superintendent Hanna, same question. 30 seconds.
So, I'm gotten some hot water from an email I sent teachers reassuring them that they didn't have to walk on eggshells. I basically told them, you do you. You continue to teach the standards as set forth by the state of Florida, and we will have your back. Do not, for 1 minute, think that you have to measure every single thing that comes out of your mouth. Do your job, the professionals that you are. We know our teachers are not grooming and indoctrinating children. They simply wake up each and every day to make a difference in a child's life, and they will continue to do that and have my full support as superintendent.
Thank you. How concerning is the level of teacher turnover for the district, and how will you work on that if reelected? 30 seconds, Superintendent Hanna.
That's a statewide issue. I say a national issue is teacher retention and recruitment. We've named a director of teacher recruitment and retention that's going to work on this issue. We have also partnered with Tallahassee State College, which is now offering an education program, along with Florida State University, FAMU, and we're traveling across the country to look at creative ways to attract teachers, not only in Leon County schools, but to live in Leon County. I've been here my entire life. It's a great place to raise a family. We just need to give a compelling reason why young teachers need to move to our community and work with Leon County schools.
Mrs. Swain, same question.
Well, in the school that I was currently principal at, I did work on recruiting and retaining teachers. We, at one point, especially during COVID, were about less than 50% of certified teachers, and we got up to 99% and are able to maintain and retain those teachers. And that is because of culture and climate within the schools. It is more than pay. It is pay, absolutely, because we have to have the right pay in order to attract anyone. But also with that pay, there has to be a work environment that teachers want to be in.
Thank you. How do you think the school district handled the storm response during the May 10th tornado outbreaks? 30 seconds, Mrs. Swain.
I believe that it definitely could have been handled better, even, with the given circumstances. Sometimes as school leaders and educational leaders, we do find out information on the back end, but there still could have been a quicker response to what was going on. Knowing that things were happening right in that moment, I believe that everything should have been stopped immediately as soon as knowledge was given, to make sure that not only our students were safe, but also the teachers who were trying to travel to work on that day.
Superintendent Hanna, same question.
Over the last 8 years, I've dealt with a number of times where we've gone into crisis management and had to adjust operations. It could be a hurricane, it could be a tropical storm, severe weather, ice storms, a solar eclipse, a pandemic. This is the first time that I've received criticism for how I handle it. We probably should have pushed school back like I wanted to do, an hour, like we did 3 weeks prior when we had the flooding situation. I was given information that led us to believe that there would not be severe weather. There was. Communication, however, is going to be greatly improved moving forward.
Thank you. Leon County recently announced new principal promotions and changes. A viewer wants to know when those positions should be appointed and when they should be advertised. 30 seconds. Superintendent Hanna.
So we do have four new principals this year as folks retire and move on. So those positions are, we have one currently advertised now at Oak Ridge Elementary School. Every year as those positions change, though, there's a domino effect with principals and assistant principals. So
how do you decide when they should be appointed, when they should be advertised?
We try to do it as quickly as possible, because now the turnaround time, school starts back the 1st of August, and so we already have those new principals in place except for Oak Ridge Elementary School.
Mrs. Swain, does that process work for you?
I believe that as soon as you know that you have a vacancy, it absolutely should be advertised and appointed as soon as you find a leader that is fit for that school. I do want to make mention that it is important to make sure that you have the right fit and that you're not just moving chess pieces around.
Thank you.
All right. This next section is on the topic of partisan politics. In this November's general election, voters will be asked to approve or reject an amendment to the Florida Constitution that changes the election of the 67 local school boards from nonpartisan to partisan. Should the election of school board members be nonpartisan or partisan, and why? 30-second responses, please, beginning with Ms. Swain.
I believe that it should be nonpartisan. I believe one of the main things that I'm standing on in my platform is that we have to remove the politics from education, that it needs to return to focusing on teaching and learning. And I believe that if we make it a partisan race or issue in terms of school board, that then now we're pulling more politics back into education, and it should not be about that. It should be about students.
Mr. Hanna?
The first 2 times I ran for office, I ran nonpartisan. I've been a registered Democrat my entire life, but there is no place for partisan politics in our schools. The constitutional office of superintendent is partisan. This time I am running as a Democrat because they changed the law. In order for me to run nonpartisan, I would have to give up my affiliation with the Democratic Party, and I just simply wasn't willing to do that. But yes, I think school board races should remain nonpartisan.
As you noted, partisanship is already attached to the superintendent candidates. Your own party is accusing one of your sitting school board members of being a right-wing extremist. Is that a valid criticism of Lori Lawson Cox? 30-second responses, please, beginning with Mr. Hanna.
It is absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've known Lori since we went to high school together, and I've been very pleased with how she's voted as a school board member. She is very involved. She's a great member of that community that surrounds Childs High School. I've been very pleased with how she's responded. She's not being manipulated by any one group. She's voting her conscience. It's her 36 years of experience with our school district. So she's serving as a wonderful school board member, and I will continue to support her.
Mrs. Swain?
I don't believe in making generalizations about people, so I won't say that she's an extremist. I will say that I believe that there are times that maybe her voting could have gone a different way in terms of making sure that you're more sensitive to the needs of your teachers and sensitive to the needs of the school district. But I can't say with integrity that I can call her an extremist.
Is there a specific vote that comes to mind?
No, well, maybe not a vote. That probably isn't the word I should say, but I'll say a particular comment that did not leave me, and that was when, she said, our teachers should just be thankful for.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move on to the topic of rebranding. What do you think of the school district's new logo and rebranding campaign? Have you seen any results so far? In 30 seconds, Star Swain.
So I will say that first, there's nothing wrong with rebranding your school district. I just feel like the cart was put before the horse. I think that first, before you rebrand and put a marketing plan out there, that the first marketing piece needs to be, what are we doing to improve education inside the schools? I think the logo is what happens on the outside. That should be a representation of what's happening inside. And right now, I don't feel like it was time to do that.
Rocky Hanna?
For the first time in history, we're competing for public tax dollars. It was incumbent upon us, like any other organization, to market and to tell our story. It would be irresponsible if we didn't. Could we have rolled things out better? Certainly. In hindsight, we probably should have had a lot of other discussions about the focus groups and all the research that went into the logo. We should have talked more about the marketing campaign, the social media that's being paid out of that contract with the company we contracted with. So we could have rolled it out better, but at the end of the day, it's incumbent upon us to tell our story.
A common refrain on social media was that the $100,000 for the rebranding campaign and logo should have been used in the classroom, or the district should have held a logo contest for students. What's your response to that in 30 seconds, Rocky Hanna?
I don't think any other organization, Amazon is not going to ask kids to have a contest. We hired professionals to give us this advice and to lead us. That logo that we've had prior is the same logo that's on my diploma from 42 years ago. It was time for a change, and we've hired professionals to help us through that process. We have a budget of $600 million. $100,000 does sound like a lot of money, all right? But at the end of the day, 12 kids, if we can keep 12 kids from leaving or get 12 kids coming back, it will more than pay for itself.
Thank you. Star Swain.
While there are business aspects to leading the school district and its organization, I believe that we should not compare ourselves to a company. We are an organization, and so I feel like that money could have been applied differently. I do believe that it just, again, it wasn't time. It was not the right way to use that. If you want to market and tell a story, first you have to fix the story and then tell it.
All right, let's talk about state mandates. Here's another question from a reader. It's a nice teaser. With so much being regulated by the legislature and Department of Education, what's the purpose of school boards? 15 seconds.
So I believe the purpose of school boards is to, I'm a huge advocate of collaboration and working together as a team. So I believe there is absolutely a place for a school board so that you can work together to make decisions.
Okay, Superintendent Hanna.
I've been outspoken about this before. Local control. We are losing local control. We should have the ability here in Leon County to make decisions for ourselves, not one size fits all for the state of Florida. And I will continue to push back against state mandates. We need to be able to say what's important to us and the decisions that we make for our community.
Another 15-second one. What recent regulation do you think has been the hardest on Leon County? Superintendent Hanna.
Well, we can go back to the masking issue and question about the mask. We're most parents and families in Leon County wanted our kids still wearing masks, especially those that weren't able to get vaccinated. But these lists of mandates every session grow larger
Okay.
and larger
Thank you.
and larger.
Mrs. Swain, same question. What
think-
regulation has been the hardest?
I think one of the most, the hardest regulation has been the banning of the school books. I'm sorry, of books in schools. I think that has been the most difficult to deal with.
Okay, we'll be talking about that a little bit later. How will you implement FDOE's standard of teaching students that slavery was a benefit? Mrs. Swain, 30 seconds.
Can you ask the question one more time?
Sure. How will you implement the Florida Department of Education's controversial standard of teaching students that slavery was a benefit? And that's 30 seconds to respond.
So I believe, again, and I mentioned this before, that we must remain objective, but I believe that there needs to be transparency and accuracy in the telling of any story, and history included. So I believe as we implement the standards and regulations from the state, we have to make sure that we're implementing accuracy, and so that will be something that I would absolutely push against, and we would have to talk about with state and legislation in terms of making sure that we are accurately presenting African American history to our children.
Thank you. Superintendent Hannah, same question.
So our teachers will teach the standards as set forth by the state of Florida in every subject that they teach. I agree with Ms. Swain. We will continue to tell the truth about African American history. If it makes some people feel a little bit uncomfortable, then so be it. But at the end of the day, we're gonna take the high road and speak the truth and follow the standards. That's all we ask our teachers to do each and every day.
Thank you. Superintendent Hannah, you alluded to this earlier, but in early 2023, you were investigated by the Department of Education for your, quote, politically charged statements and infusing your, quote, personal views into the administration of the school district. Without admitting guilt, you reached a settlement with the state for a letter of reprimand, a $1,000 fine, and 2-year probation. In hindsight, do you have any regrets with that settlement?
I made a commitment 8 years ago that I would always stand as a champion and fight for our students, our teachers, and our public schools. And I meant what I said. If me standing up and advocating on behalf of our students during the mask issue, or advocating on behalf of our teachers when they have fallen under attack, if that's the price I have to pay, to the fine and the probation and the letter of reprimand, then so be it. I wouldn't have done it any differently. It's my job. It's incumbent upon me as superintendent to stand up and protect our children and our teachers.
Thank you. Mrs. Swain, we have a superintendent that is running for re-election who is on probation. Is that an issue in this race for you?
I can't say that it's necessarily an issue, especially because I will have to agree. When there are things that you firmly believe in, whether everyone agrees with it or not, I believe in standing for that. So although we do have a superintendent that's on probation, we have to look at the reasons why, and maybe, at that time he had certain convictions that caused him to stand for that. But I'm not against that, because I think in that position I might have done the same thing.
Thank you.
All right. This next section is about tech in the classroom, and this next question comes from the Tallahassee-Leon County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. Do you support the state's social media ban for minors, and how can Leon County schools help to prepare students for safe and responsible social media use? 45-second responses, please, beginning with Star Swain.
To an extent, I do support the social media ban, and I say that because I feel like we have to make sure that instruction and instructional time is protected in classrooms. So I think that but I still feel that there's a place for social media in our instruction. We do have, this is a new world of technology that our students are living in, so there is a place for them to learn about it and how to responsibly use it. So I don't feel like there should be a 100% ban. I think we should just learn how to, or provide some accountability in terms of how it is used in classrooms.
Rocky Hannah?
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to parenting, and parents overseeing what their child is doing and what they are not doing, and what access they have. But as educators, it's incumbent upon us to educate kids about social media and about the pros and the cons, the good and the bad. And so I think moving forward, as we embrace this technology, it's here, whether we want it to be here or not. Things are very different today than they were when I was a student in school, but it's incumbent upon us as educators to educate kids to use social media platforms responsibly, and also the consequences that can lead to if you post things in haste, and how it can haunt you the rest of your life.
All right. Studies have concluded that student use of smartphones in the classroom decreases comprehension and increases anxiety. School board policy requires students turn off their cell phones during class and in hallways, with some limited exceptions. Is this really happening, and is it time for Leon schools to go harder or pursue an outright ban? 45-second responses, please, beginning with Rocky Hanna.
We do a great job, our elementary and our middle schools. High schools is a little tougher to control because we still have open campuses. But all in all, kids know the rules, and it's up to us to enforce the rules. This is an ongoing conversation that we will have. We're putting together a group to look at the issue of cell phones, to look at what other surrounding counties are doing to help combat this. I remember when I was at Leon, I was wanting to put our Leon High School in a bubble. The FCC said we couldn't do that. It was against the law to stop the signals. But at the end of the day, we will address this issue moving forward to ensure that kids are being responsible with those devices.
Star Swain.
Yes, I do believe that there needs to be a little bit more accountability and in terms of our student code of conduct, making sure that it is very clearly outlined what the consequences are, what the expectations are, the guidelines are, and what the consequences are, not only for students but also for parents. I believe that if accountability is provided to students and they're given expectations, that they will abide by those expectations within the school.
All right.
So you both have mentioned book bans. The Moms for Liberty group regularly highlights highlights books in schools' libraries on their Facebook page, and they find them objectionable. Superintendent Hanna, outside of the formal book challenge process, has your administration removed any books from school libraries? You have 30 seconds.
So we have over 400,000 titles in our media centers, which is a lot. From time to time, we will come across a book that has been donated that may be age inappropriate for students, and if we come across those books, we'll remove them. All I've simply asked from the Moms of Liberty, if you have a list, don't make a political theater out of this. Give us a list of books that you'd like this question. We'll evaluate them. We have a committee that evaluates them, comprised of professional media specialists, and if there are materials that are inappropriate, we'll have them removed. But all in all, with over 400,000 titles, we've had very few times that we've had to do that.
Ms. Swain, when should a book be removed from a school library? 30 seconds.
I believe a book should be removed from a school library if it's developmentally inappropriate, if it's not age appropriate, then it should not be placed in a school. But I do believe in there being, in terms of, just the country that we live in and the freedoms that we are allowed to have, I believe that the choice for what our parents would like for our students to read, it should be in the parents' hands. But we do have a responsibility as a school district to make sure that we have appropriate readings in those libraries.
All right, we've been moving quickly, but let's move even quicker. We're going to do our lightning round. That is a one-sentence answer. Of course, we're all educators here. Well, we're not all educators, but you are. So we don't want a whole lot of run-on sentences. Maybe just a single and or because. We're going to start with you, Mrs. Swain. You have a magic wand that works once. What is the one thing that you're fixing in the Leon County School District? One sentence.
The one thing that I would fix is the economic disparities, or the disparities that are in between our schools in certain areas.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Hanna, same question.
Well, she didn't say fix the superintendent, which is good. I think addressing the issue of diversity.
Superintendent Hanna, what school has the most pressing need in the district at the moment? And I'm looking for a specific school. One sentence.
I can't give you one specific school. We have 40 schools. We have 3 that we're working with and providing additional resources to. But all in all, we have a B+ school district. We're doing well.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Swain, one school that has the most pressing need in the district at the moment.
Well, one school that has the most pressing, I'm kind of with Superintendent Hanna, but just one that I know of because I'm kind of familiar with it might be Griffin Middle School, where we can use a little bit more support there, I believe.
Thank you. Louisiana just made it happen. Do the 10 Commandments belong in classrooms? Mrs. Swain.
I believe that the 10 Commandments, it goes back to the personal views being kind of overflowing into classrooms. And I think that while there's nothing wrong with having 10 commandments, I think that maybe that should be a school board decision.
Superintendent Hannah.
Not unless it's a religion class and they're teaching about Christianity.
Okay. What about rainbow flags? Superintendent Hannah.
Nothing should be in a classroom that helps promote any ideology or try to advance anything other than the standards by the state of Florida.
Mrs. Swain, same question. What about rainbow flags?
I don't believe that that should be promoted inside of classrooms. It should be about teaching and learning.
All right. What's one book you think every student should read and why? Mrs. Swain.
A dictionary for a better world. And I believe that that should be that one book because it teaches our kids, and not only kids, but even adults, how to be responsible citizens and human beings.
Okay. Superintendent Hannah.
Reading is fundamental. Early learning, I'm big about the pre-kindergarten programs we have.
What's one book every student should read?
All right. How about Refugee by Alan Gertz?
And why?
Just because it talks about kids that have overcome things in history. It gives our kids a better appreciation of other cultures around the world.
Okay. Who are you endorsing in the school board races? Superintendent Hannah.
I've been a big fan of Roseanne Wood and Lori Cox, and will continue to support them. We have amazing school board members, and I believe in their work.
Thank you. Mrs. Swain.
I would have to say Jeremy Rogers and Mr. Zeruto.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Mrs. Swain, you got the last question here. What's your single biggest accomplishment during your tenure as a Leon County school employee?
Well, I will have to say I've not worked in the Leon County School District as an employee of Leon County School District, but of course I have worked here at FAMU DRS, and so I will say and Governor's Charter Academy.
So the Leon County School community. Basically. Yeah, okay. Let's go with that.
All right. One of my biggest accomplishments, I will have to say, only one. I'll do the 20 million words that we read this past school year at FAMU DRS with our elementary school students with only a little over 220 students. That was a huge feat.
Thank you. Superintendent Hannah.
I think history will remember public schools for how we responded to the pandemic. That to me has been my greatest accomplishment as a leader. But I'm so proud of what our teachers and our community did.
All right, we're back to normal
right.
clock here.
Back to the normal clock. All right, this next section is on the issue of health. This upcoming question was suggested by the Tallahassee-Leon County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. Should Leon County schools be more involved in supporting student mental health and resiliency? And if so, how? 45-second responses, please, beginning with Rocky Hannah.
So we have invested significant resources in our schools to deal with this issue, especially coming out of the pandemic. And those are some of the positions I've been committed to keeping that were paid for with federal dollars. We have additional guidance counselors in our schools. We have social workers in our schools. We have 2 mental health therapists that go to work with kids that may be in crisis or in danger of self-harm or harm to others. So we have tripled down on this initiative. Tanja Fitzgerald's done an amazing job of overseeing this mental health program. We do threat assessments constantly with schools and our kids to make sure they're in a safe place. And we'll continue to not compromise on those resources being in our schools. But it's that balance, again, of additional staff in schools, which costs money, and additional salaries for our people.
Thank you. Star Swain.
Yes, I believe that mental health needs to continue to be emphasized in Leon County School District. I feel like we can also add in more mentorship programs, and being able to have someone to talk to sometimes helps with our students' mental health, someone outside of just their family or just their teacher. So I believe that we need more mentorship programs and also continue to increase the counseling resources, not just in schools, but also giving parents resources for counseling that they can go to outside of school that is free and that they'll be able to easily access at any time.
All right. As of July 1st, Florida law authorizes school districts and charter schools to have volunteer school chaplains on campuses and provide counseling to students. Should Leon County start a school chaplain program? Why or why not? 30-second responses, please, beginning with Star Swain.
Yes, I do believe we should incorporate a chaplaincy program. I believe that that will be an additional resource. It can only help our students more by giving them another way to, again, talking about mental health, another outlet, another person to talk to, someone else that can give them support and encouragement.
All right, Rocky Hanna.
We haven't had that discussion internally, but we do have a huge mentor program overseen by Kelly Walker, which has a lot of civic groups, faith-based groups that have adopted schools. So we have tried our very best to pull members of the community into our schools to work with kids who don't have a lot of adult positive role models in their life.
All right. With 2 years of distance from the pandemic, what's the biggest thing you've learned and what would you do differently next time? 45-second responses, please, beginning with Rocky Hanna.
I think we've learned a lot, but again, I think history is going to remember a public school system for what it accomplished. For us to safely reopen schools in the fall of 2020, all that went into that summer preparing for that was simply remarkable, and it's one of the defining moments, I think, for us as a school district. We're still, however, recovering from that, the academic regression, the social emotional issues, but we are in a much better place today than we were last year or especially the year before, and we'll continue to grow and to thrive and to get stronger each and every year.
Star Swain.
Yes, ma'am. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. With 2 years of distance from the pandemic, what's the biggest thing you've learned and what would you do differently next time?
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is, or let me say was emphasized to me, was the resiliency of our teachers and them being able to do so many different things and really be able to pivot quickly. At the school that I was at, FAMU DRS, we also did an absolutely phenomenal job in responding quickly to our students and our families with the instructional technology that they needed. We were already on it first day. And so I believe that I really honestly don't think that I would do anything differently. Maybe just give more support, even more support to teachers to be able to handle that hybrid model.
Okay.
Star Swain, you'll kick off our section on school safety. School shootings have become the biggest fear of parents, teachers, and administrators. How would you, as an elected school leader, ensure such a thing can't happen in Leon? In 30 seconds, your response.
So one of the things that I believe that needs to happen, number one, is that we need to create a better district code of conduct that's more, doesn't leave a lot of ambiguity and a lot of room for there not to be understanding of what the expectations are. So I think that needs to be strengthened a lot, but also in terms of school safety and it not happening on our campuses, again, going back to the mental health, we need to make sure that we're keeping track of that we're doing the threat assessments that the state has required for us to do.
Thank you. Rocky
The
Hanna.
greatest responsibility I have as superintendent of schools is to ensure for the safety of our children and our employees each and every day. And it's a responsibility that I take very seriously. One of the first things I did for becoming superintendent, given my experience at large high schools, was hire 50 security monitors at a cost of $1 million to infuse more adult supervisors into our schools. The list goes on and on and on. Our schools are safer today than ever before, and we will continue to move the needle on school safety. And I would dare say that Leon County Schools serves as a model not only for the state, but to the country in this area.
Thank you. Do you support metal detectors or a device similar to what was used at Gene Cox that students have to walk through to enter school? 15 seconds, Rocky Hanna.
So again, we have completely advanced our school safety protocols. We are using some metal detectors. We have a weapons detection dog. We have AI software in our cameras that detect weapons. We have an anonymous reporting app for our students. We've added a second deputy sheriff at high schools. The list goes on and on and on.
Thank you. Star Swain, 15 seconds.
Yes, I would support having metal detectors if necessary, and at schools that it's necessary to have them at. I believe that we can still continue to tighten our security and increase our security, making students aware of the Fortify Florida.
Every year we read the headlines about a local high school mourning the loss of a student who was killed by gunfire. Should the schools play a role in tackling the city's persistent gun violence problem? If so, what specifically should they be doing? 30 seconds, Star Swain.
Yes, I think that absolutely the school district plays a huge role in what's happening in our communities with gun violence. I believe that it starts, again, as I said before, that we have to make sure we're out in the communities and we're actually partnering with our families, that we know what's going on, but also that we are strengthening our academics inside of our schools. If our kids are more successful academically and instructionally in those areas where we're seeing that crime rate rise, the more successful they are academically, the more that their future and the trajectory of what's happening will change.
Rocky?
It's incumbent upon all of us in this community to work together and not be in silos. I'm proud of the relationships we built for the Council of Status of Men and Boys, Leon County Sheriff's Department, Tallahassee Police Department, and other community partners to address this issue. In addition, we're offering more career technical programs in our schools to show kids that there is an alternative path for a successful future other than turning to the streets.
Our final school safety question will go to you, Rocky Hanna. Is the Leon County School District adequately addressing bullying and harassment? Is there anything else we should be doing? 30 seconds.
So yes, we have also Director Fitzgerald oversees all of our bullying and harassment. I went to Raw Middle School 45 years ago. Middle school was tough, but we encourage our kids to speak up. If they're having trouble, to speak up. Go to an adult that they trust, and we will help them. We've come a long way in this area by adding the social workers and the guidance counselors, and I have zero tolerance for bullying in our schools. It's zero tolerance whatsoever. And for those that come to school and want to harm others, there's no place for them.
Thank you. Star Swain.
I believe that we do need to increase our resiliency training. I think that bullying has to be more than just letting students know that they can report, but we have to do bullying prevention, meaning that we are providing students with teaching and learning about how to interact with others who are not like themselves, how to appreciate diversity, how to appreciate differences. And I think when we provide that type of instruction in our classrooms, then now we are preparing our kids to move away from bullying.
Thank you.
All right, it is closing time. You have made it. This is your chance to speak directly to voters. You have 60 seconds. You can give your website. Mrs. Swain, you get to start us out.
So yes, again, I am Star Swain. I'm an educator of 21 years. I do have a lot of educational experience and leadership experience. And I believe that at this time, in this juncture in Leon County School District, it is time for change. There needs to be improvement in what is happening inside our classrooms. More focus needs to be brought back to teaching and learning, and there needs to be a leader in place who actually understands how to get that done. I believe that there needs to be a gap. There's a gap that needs to be bridged between our district and our schools, and making better partnerships, working and collaborating with our school leaders, and giving more support and more teacher pay to our teachers. So again, you can also find me at votestarswain.org, and also on social media. I am Star Swain. I'm looking forward to serving our community in this capacity.
Thank you. Superintendent Hanna, take us out.
A strong community needs a strong public school system. And we have a strong public school system. We have a strong public school system because we have wonderful school leaders and amazing classroom teachers like my wife, Christy, who wakes up each and every day to make a difference in a child's life. For the last 36 years, I've served our district in many capacities: hall monitor, teacher, coach, dean of students, assistant principal, divisional director, and now superintendent of schools. No matter the role, at the center of every decision I've made is what's best for our students. I'm very proud of our accomplishments. If you are watching today, you're educated voters. I ask you, before you cast your vote, to please go to rockyhanna.org and look at all the wonderful things we have done over the last 8 years. We've pushed more money down into our schools, we've given raises, we've reduced debt, and we'll be 100% debt-free. And our kids are getting back on track academically. Again, it's an honor to serve as superintendent. If I get your vote, I won't let you down, and most importantly, I will not let our children down.
Thank you. Thank you to all the candidates, two of you, and to our audience for joining the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee, WFSU, and the Tallahassee Democrat.
You can find a replay of this forum on our YouTube pages, tallahassee.com and WFSU.org. The recorded broadcast will be Thursday, July 11th on WFSU 88.9 FM, so tell your friends.
Our next live stream forum will be this afternoon, Wednesday, June 27th at 1 p.m. The Tallahassee City Commission Seat 2 will be joining us for that forum. Dorothy Inman Johnson, Donna Nyack, Curtis Richardson, and Bernard Stevens Jr. After that, our next forums will take place July 16th with the Leon County Property Appraiser at 11 and the Leon County Judge seated at 1 p.m. Eastern. And remember, you have until July 22nd to register or change your party for the primary election. Early voting begins August 10th with the election day taking place on August 20th. If you have questions for our upcoming forums, please email us at news@tallahassee.com. Look for our special election section with the candidates in the Sunday, August 4th paper. Have a great day, and you'll have a better day if you come and join us back at 1 p.m.